Good afternoon YouTube, this is NeoNexudus here, with my first road to the WCQ. Now, as other people have been doing their road to the WCQ, such as Scapegoat User and a Drum with a Bomb, this is my first one. Now, I've been meaning to do one for quite a while, but the thing is, didn't quite know how to go about it. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts to the WCQ, because it is exactly 7 days today, so it is now Monday the 14th. In 7 days time we have the WCQ. It is Monday the 14th, WCQ is on May 20th, which is 7 days from now, so I've got really a week to make all the last preparations on my deck and prepare for the upcoming tournament. Now, a bit of recent information came to light about how the way the WCQ is going to be run, and turns out me, Mr. Sasuke Dragon, Scapegoat User, a Drum with a Bomb, etc. all really kind of worrying about nothing, because it's a standard Swiss style tournament set with more players. Because we thought it was going to be run YCS style, you know, with preliminary knockout rounds and then cut to top 32, top 16, top 4, etc. But it turns out that it's actually the complete opposite. It's almost exactly like our locals, except with a bigger turnout and more judges around, really. So yeah, our local store is hosting this WCQ, and I was thinking last night, looking at a few deck profiles on YouTube, I was thinking, everyone's talking about these top tier decks. You got your Chaos Dragons, you got your Rabbit, your Insectors, and your Heroes. The four main top decks. So I was thinking, yeah, everyone's switching over to Heroes at the moment. It's cheap, it's fast, it's easy to build, and it's been proven to work. So why wouldn't you want to build Heroes? As for Rabbit, Rabbit is still the most expensive deck going, with 3 Rescue Rabbits, 3 Tour Guides, etc. And yeah, that's been proven to work. It won the last YCS, sorry. But in my own personal opinion, that is only due to people not having enough time before the event when the priority ruling was changed. Now, for those of you who don't know, who should know by now, that priority has gone from the TCG. Priority left the OCG sometime last year in the summer, and it's recently, in the last couple of weeks, left the TCG. And I believe in the last YCS tournament that players did not have enough time to reconstruct their decks to play around the no priority rule, and they was able to do a bit here and there, but they didn't quite know what would be expected with the no priority rule, so everyone just played normally. So it didn't have that much of an effect. But now that people have gotten used to the fact that priority is not around, and you can play things like Bottomless, Trap Pole, and Compulsory Evacuation Device, and Book of Moon, without fear of opponent calling summon, called Prior in Effect. For example, let's call it Judgment Dragon, one of my most hated cards for calling priority. They would special summon Judgment Dragon, and you just play Bottomless, and then they call priority to pay 1,000 and wipe the field clean. Yes, you'd get rid of that Judgment Dragon, but it left you wide open for another attack, which I really did not like. But now that priority's gone, they can go summon Bottomless. No priority, it's out of there. Fuck you, Light Swarm. But yeah, so now that with no priority gone, it didn't affect Heroes, because Heroes don't actually have any priority rulings. Stratus is a trigger. Alias, you don't use his effect getting treated as a Neos anyway, so that's besides the point. Bubbleman is a trigger dash summonable effect, so priority didn't really affect him. So with Rabbit, on the other hand, Rabbit got a bit butthurt because they can summon Rescue Rabbit, but now you can chain disappearance it. You can drop an effect banner on Rabbit and it no longer gets the effect to get out the two things and then bash bash and then overlay, if you know what I mean. So Rabbit got a little bit hit. Not overly hit, it's not dead. By no means is it dead, it's still a factor to contend with. But, in my own personal opinion, it is not the #1 tier 0 deck going. It is not broken. Rabbit is no longer broken, it's actually more fair to play against. Because you can still banish the rabbit, but the thing is that happens now, if it's had its effect negated whilst on the field, you don't get the effect in the banish zone anymore. But for all rabbit players watching this video, you will want to banish that rabbit so that next turn, or however many turns later it takes, you can go into your tour guide, Sangan, overlay, Laviette, and then you bring it back and use its effect. Hopefully. So, yeah, the way the format's been changed now is basically a lot of people are running Triple Veiler. Control decks are coming out the woodwork, control styles, but in my own personal opinion, it's not so much control, more a stun. Control and stun, there's a very fine line between the two. Now, stun would be things like Thunder King, Trap Stun, Doom Caliber Knight, and then you've got control, which heroes provide a lot, because heroes have an entire toolbox of different things to play. You know, you can summon that alias, they can play their Compulse or their Bottomless, but then you can chain that Gemini Spark and still tribute it to the graveyard as a cost. Pop a card on your opponent's side field and draw a card. So that's really good. Plus, if you get these heroes in the graveyard, it don't really matter, because they're just going to play freaking Miracle Fusion on your ass. And then, more than likely, going for Shining, which is a massive beat stick. And as soon as that gets destroyed, you know, they just get 2 banished heroes back to their hand, so they just get the Stratos and something else back, and they do the whole thing again. Not to say heroes aren't beatable, because they are. But, nonetheless, they are proving to be very, very annoying. Now, moving back to Rabbit, as well as the actual Rescue Rabbit itself being hit, if you drop the effect beta, you also have Tour Guide. Now, without priority, Tour Guide became a little bit weaker, because it's an effect that is ignition, although it is upon summon. You normal summon the Tour Guide, and you would previously call priority to special summon the Sangan, regardless of whatever happens. Now, they have to go summon any response to the summon, in which you can play normal Trap Hole. You can play all sorts of things, really. You're no longer relying on that Solemn Warning and Solemn Judgment, which in my opinion Solemn Judgment's lost a little bit of its luster, and Solemn Warning, but Solemn Warning is still needed to give it that extra bit of control in decks, as well as your Compulses and your Bottomlesses. And listen to me, I'm rambling on about absolute twaddle. So, basically, recap. Rabbit, it's watered down. Heroes, not affected at all. Moving on to Chaos Dragons. Chaos Dragons, the only way priority really affected Chaos Dragons was with Darkness Metal, really. People may say, what about Lila? Her priority is to switch to defense, and then it pops a back row. It's like a double effect, if you like. The priority is to switch to defense mode, just like with Breaking the Magical Warrior, it's priority to put the spell counter on it, not to pop a card on the field. So, yeah, Chaos Dragons aren't really affected by the no priority ruling. And what else? Ah, yes, Insectors. Insectors with no priority, yeah, they got watered down a bit, like Rabbit, because you could just summon the Dragonfly, call priority to equip the Hornet from the hand or graveyard, and proceed to go herpy derpy 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 derp. Now, I would definitely say that Heroes and Insectors are the top 2 decks at the moment, in my own personal opinion. Now, you may disagree with me, but that is my own opinion. Insectors are still fairly busted. You know, they have many variations. You've got Billy Break's Safe Zone build, you've got the Ladybug build, you've got the Excalibur build, and you've got the Streamline Straight Insector build. Now, I've already talked about Heroes, so, you know, in my personal opinion, Insectors are still very much a threat to be reckoned with. And to countermeasure that, I, as you would have seen in my deck profile video, have got 3 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror in my side deck. That is because I fear Insectors a lot. I've gone up against them quite a few times at my local competitions, and they can do a lot of damage. They also work on Chaos Dragons as well, for their Dark Flare Dragons and their Darkness Metals. Now, what else can you use against Chaos Dragons? You can also use Light Imprisoned Mirror as well, which shuts down their Light Pulsar effect, which gets their main combo going. Because if you destroy Light Pulsar and it gets to the graveyard, it gets to revive Dark-type Dragon Monster, which they'll bring back Darkness Metal, and, you know, keep on reviving shit from the graveyard. So this guy shuts down Light Pulsar, and it shuts down Eclipse Wyvern. Now, it doesn't shut down the Eclipse Wyvern effect of once it's banished, but it negates the effect of when it hits the graveyard. So please do not misunderstand when I say that Light Imprisoned Mirror shuts down Eclipse Wyvern, because it does not shut it down completely. It shuts down one of its two effects. Also, with Heretics just come out, Light Imprisoned Mirror is going to see a lot more play due to the fact of Heretics are nuts. Especially a Jump on the Bombs version. Atom Turbo. I was about to call it Vayu Turbo, but that's years ago. It's Atom Turbo. It's a rank 6 monster, Heretic Atoms. And it allows them to special summon a Dragon type monster from the deck, and it's just very... If you don't get your... or stun your negation, your control ability against Heretics in the first 1-2 turns, they can quite literally control the board. Now that's where control and stun differ, because control is things like Heretics. Heretics are very good at controlling, and same with heroes. Stun is things like skill drain variant decks and things that, you know, hinder the opponent. You don't necessarily control the board, but you just stop your opponent's plays. Like I said, they're very much of a muchness, and there's not a lot between the two. But in my opinion, my TG Photon Drain deck is a stun deck. It's not control, because it doesn't give it that field presence enough with the monsters. It doesn't special summon like crazy. And it doesn't have a lot of monster effects which pop off back rows and shit like that, like Insectors. Insectors are another good example of control. Another example of stun-control is Effect Veiler, which is seeing ran in 2-3s. I side deck mine because I run 2 skill drain, but I do put these in against the Insector matchup because I do need that extra stun ability. Electric Virus is good against your Chaos Dragons and any rogue machine deck you go up against. So you can take their Darkness Metal, you can take their Light Pulsar Dragon, you can take their Eclipse Wyvern, you can just take their monsters and do whatever you will with it. Now, I would definitely say Fossil Dino is very muchly a stun card, because if you normal summon him and have him face up, no special summons can be conducted, which stuns the opponent. It stuns the growth of the game, it stuns the speed. Whereas things like Insectors, they blow up a lot of stuff on the field, so they gain control over the field. Hopefully I haven't bored you all too much. Hopefully I've given you a bit of insight against what you can use against certain decks, and hopefully I've given you my thoughts about basically how I think about the game as it is today. This is NeoNexudus, I'm signing out.